a meeting a curing agenda for one day. Take a mirror early stage, a government become a pasha. Then අනෙක් මේ agenda around මිෆාර නොෆොනොවීවෙස් එවරන් අලවුන්මෙන්න්න මේ එජෙන්ඩාග අන්නන් හොරි අයිටම් තක්කුග මේ හුෂේලුන්ත හොරි තර්ඩ් පාටි අතොල් කොන්සිලම ශාලන් හොරි හුෂේලුන්තකවර එහෙම පරඇත්තක ශාලන් හොරි ශෙලුන්තවීම එවෙෆලුන්ගේ වගුතුක යගින් කලුන යගින් නොවී මස්ස එජෙන්ඩාන එකවට්ටක මාෆය දෙ කවුන්න මේ කොමිටස් එජෙන්ඩා කොරියාලා ෆොනුවමුන් හිංගමු ගෙන්දවෙන් මේ කොමිටි චයාවස් අරුවන්න මියත්තාගම කණ්ඩයාලුනේ මජීද කොමිටි හිංගම් ෆශම් අර ගොස්කොල වෙජ මසය කොරවෙතන ස්වාජීද කොමිටි චයාය ගෙනශයට නැතිීමයයි අකිබේෆලෝ ඉනිශේට නග නැතිීමයයික වගුතු අලුගන්න මේ වගුත් දෙන බේෆුල ඉන්ට්‍රස්ට බේෆුල තිබෙන්දම කොමිටි හිංගුම් මඩු කොල්ද කොමිටිය ගුලේ කම්මකු पर agency kankan bhuri waste management related adi soda hakata gole kan atol council ge bhuri exercise koram pena bhuri kankan adi rush council taw ges nige committee hingam di muge mohimma kam ara unatolo bodu kam pa kor then by beru ge mi hun tibi ma ko by pahaga taw ne ingresim se address kollana majid committee ge chai be saw mi committee ge mi masek agenda no fono ti ma ko halon komisaraka ko this committee is a permanent committee established by Noonu Atoll Council. As you can see, we have council representatives from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 island councils and atoll council. So actually, we have 13 islands. For Alexander's reference, I'm giving this information. Actually, this committee is quite in an early stage, the practices. So, but we started this practice back in 2022. So our committee chair is Abdul Majid Mohammed. He is the president of Noonu Miladu Council. We haven't provided an agenda beforehand to the participants this time because it was only one item that we were putting on agenda. Actually, it is the presentation proposed by Alexandra to Noonu Atoll Council. So I would like to actually hand over Alexandra for the presentation, and later on there might be, as you will be presenting in English, there might be some there might not be that clearance, so we could try to discuss it further later on with the other council members. And I have some questions and discussions and questions that I would like to also raise. And thank you, Gordon and Cash, also for joining on behalf of Sonewa Namuna. And then actually, I wanted to give you an update before this presentation about the waste management issue that we are highlighting with regard to the new act. Actually, today we have met with the Maldives Association for Tourism Industry, that is almost one of the influential also it's a kind of a political body in Maldives where they could lobby and work towards the legislative amendments. So they are very much on the same perspective as ours on the waste management issue, and they are very positive. They have given positive feedback towards us, and they are going to also support our cause in this waste management reform actual regulation that which will allow for tourist resort waste to be transferred to inhabited islands, so such facilities to be established in inhabited islands. They were in favor of establishing atoll level recycling facilities and utilizing atoll level recycling facilities by the resorts. They are in favor of the idea, and they will they have committed that they will recommend the government and Majlis on that. And also they have highlighted that in today's meeting that there is 2 regulations that need to be formulated with regard to the Waste Management Act. So it doesn't necessarily have to change the act. So instead of amending the act, they will provide provision, or they will recommend provisions in the regulation which have to be formulated with regard to the resort waste management. And there is another regulation which is required to be formulated with regard to waste transfer. So waste transfer regulation and resort waste management regulations will be formulated, I'm surely, with their participation, multi-participation and collaboration. So they have assured that they will lobby for the two regulations to be incorporated with our what we were trying to establish here. So I wanted to share the happy news about it. Yes, Kesh. I can't hear you.
I am muted. Hi, Bashir.
There you are.
Thank you. Thanks, Bashir. That's really great update and really good information. It's the same approach that 𝗂𝗏 is taking with our lawyer and when in our discussions with the ministry. And also to let you know, 𝗂𝗏 is presenting at the upcoming MATI conference, which is happening on the 15th of May. So we are also going to present that, and that will be another way to support this idea of collaborations. So hopefully we're on a good track. Thank you, Bashir.
Thank you, Kesh. I think, James, thank you for your proactive approach to Noonu Atoll Council. Actually, James have seen our work, and James had actually worked with 𝗂𝗏 Namuna also in the past, but he had seen our work from media and Twitter, and so he proactively approached and submitted his ideas to the Noonu Atoll Council, which of course is very much aligned with his ideas, as he was working with 𝗂𝗏 Namuna on the same approach, and our plans were actually incorporated with 𝗂𝗏 Namuna's consultation. Our governance is very much also aligned, and we were working closely and continuously. So we that's how James' ideas and our plans got so much aligned. So thank you for your proposal, and I am, and Majid is very much committed to this. Actually, the recycling centers and such facilities are in our plans, but our priorities were not given to those workshops, as Kesh and Gordon understand. Our priority was on some other steps that need to be taken beforehand, but it is time that we could start consultation planning process towards the recycling facilities. That's my idea. So I wanted to take initiative and start with your presentation and the ideas, and then we could gradually form and allocate location islands and discuss further this in Atoll Council and this committee, and
Yes,
collaborate with James. So you may present from now. Thank you.
thank you. I'm really grateful for everyone's time. Thank you, Mohammed. Nice to meet you, Majid, again. Gordon and Kesh. Anyone else who's blinking on my screen below, I'm not sure. I think first things to clarify is I'm an artist. I don't run a recycling business, but I do have 4 decades of provenance creating works on a community level. And these have always focused around water, oceans and rivers. I think for a very long time now, I've been one of the anti-advertising campaigners against the 4 major global polluters. I've created sculptures, which actually I've shared with you in a Google Drive link I'll send over shortly. I'm not very good at the technology here, so sharing documents at the same time as talking may be my nemesis, but I'll certainly try for you. But I think there is a link. How do I just send a message to you all so you can bring it up independently? 1 second, sorry. Maybe, Mohammed, you can, because I sent it to you, that'd be great, just to take the onus off me. So coming back to why we're here.
Okay, I'll open the link.
Thank you very much. So it's an open Google Drive. Everything I'll talk about today is within that drive, but I don't still have an NDA in place with Noonu Atoll, so I can't actually share the final designs with the public audience. I do have an active NDA with Sonu and Eva signed and in place. So, yeah, once we get that paperwork, I can send over the final designs. But let's push on regardless. Maker's Place has been built up from the ground up, based on a concept that I've been working on for some years. We have proof of its provenance. The machines have stood up to what we expected. The closed loop and VOC system gave us some teething problems, but that was to be expected. This is an entirely unique island-based methodology where actually once all the units are placed together, solar power to drive the VOCs, a closed loop wash station, using quite advanced filtration to actually keep the lifespan of the water usable as long as possible, and then ending up with just grey water. I'm very, very pleased with the way it's run, but we've always had the plan to actually, thank you for sharing, we've always had the plan to bring this to an island level. So we have one project in the Maldives, one in Indonesia, and one also going live in Mumbai this year. So we're really putting our foot on the gas. The machinery we've suggested, all the processes I will talk about are very simple. We are just using a fire and a bucket of sand, quite literally, for the aluminium side. On the plastic side, I'm merely suggesting a stage 1 production. So that's a green facility using solar VOC extraction, hot washing the flakes, and preparing them as 1-ton bales for selling on the open market. My proposal also includes a shipping levy tax. I mentioned that in the document I believe you're sharing now. It would be very nice if we could collaborate with those vessels arriving at Male, laden with goods, generally leaving unladen. Perhaps we could, in Indonesia, it's already passed government approval. So this is actually going to be an enforced tax on boats. I'm not suggesting the same for yourself, but Indonesia, they felt it was necessary. So that any vessel coming in, there will be a 2% weight levy applied to that vessel leaving. And this would enable our nodes of recycling or moving the hot washed flakes to a destination where at the moment market prices are fluctuating quite widely, but depending on the quality, quite low quality, you're looking at about $800 a ton, ranging up to $2,000 a ton for hot washed PET quality flakes. Now, if you're doing that in a carbon neutral way, surely it makes sense that this should be enabled as soon as possible. My work really has been advocating for sustainability at a community level. We don't have to drill too far into the statistics of water pollution, especially from the plastics and aluminium industry. To place the problem into real numbers, every single aluminium can that does not reach a recycling facility and then is replaced with a virgin can is 25 times the amount of energy instead of recycling that one single can. The stats are a little bit lower for plastic, about 1/20th, but it depends on the end upcycling product you take it to. So every piece of single-use packaging that is not recycled, without doubt, is not only adding exponentially to carbon emissions around the world, but also the single-use packaging pollution that we are all facing today, not just the Maldives. As with any project, really for me, it's not the limitations that preoccupy me. It is absolutely the possibilities. So within the document that Mohammed is kindly sharing, I've shared some designs for a very simple compressed wall mud building. You'll see in there some of the first sculptures we made at Maker's Place and some very basic machinery that are being reformatted as we speak. I have 2 machines being built presently, but I actually don't know what down the line. I haven't had a case study of materials brought to me yet, so I actually don't know what quality of materials we're going to be seeing through the facility. So I can't give you a specific on the shredder machinery, but the basic form is there. It's just the blade structure will change depending on, for example, if there are a lot of plastic bags and the likes. The process also includes a closed loop wash station. Now this is, I think, we might be able to, they're scrolling through. So the wash station is very important here for an amount of about 1,000 kilograms a month. With pre-washed materials, you're only going to use about 2,000 litres a month. That water can be returned to a grey watering circuit, so for plants and vegetation and the likes. The VOC filters themselves as well, we've made some updates since Maker's Place. We've now got a system which has a lower volume mass movement of air, but we're allowed to cool that air before it enters the machine. We did have some problems with the furnace being so close to the filter that actually the filters got a little bit hot. We've dealt with that problem now. And this really is a first, you know, to be actually extracting all the waste from these materials and doing it in an ethical way without wasting water, I think in itself is a world first. Recycling is inherently heavy on usage of not only energy, but water, clean water. And obviously for island nations such as yourself, water is generally created by desalination, so every drop saved goes towards the green ethics aspirations that we're all here trying to achieve. The wash station facility I'm proposing for Noonu Atoll actually will have a solar heated bath, so it'll be an assembly that goes on the roof, very simple, costing you know, a few $100s, but we'll actually be able to raise the temperature naturally of the water baths to quite high levels, and actually we'll be able to raise the quality of the PET in particular, which is the biggest market I see, and it can double the value of those raw flakes if they have been put through a proper hot wash. So I'm sort of drawing around the basics of the types of structures that I'm hoping to put in place for you. It should be, I would like to hope that my work, instead of merely being an artist, trying to be limited by the architectural confines of the art world. Instead, my practice does deal with a broader public sphere through interventions, natural landscapes, and civic interspaces itself. Issues of sustainability and ecocide are at the core of every project. So the reason I present this mud-walled building you're seeing here is I would like it to be a centre of learning. The facility would not be a dirty factory. It would not be a noisy, dangerous place. It would be a place where we could invite and not only educate the local community to enable a higher quality product to arrive at the facility. If the community are involved, pre-washing their products and really good segregation, this will exponentially add to the value of the product that we can make for you. Aluminium, we're a little bit easier there. It's very easy to separate and deal with our onward production. So my proposal is in two stages. Stage one being the building with its VOC and closed loop water station, and preparing billets of aluminium and flaked plastics, hot washed, ready for the market to be sold. Those could be moved to Colombo in Sri Lanka, or, sorry, my memory, is it 𝗂𝗽𝗱? There's actually a very good market for recyclable materials in 𝗂𝗽𝗱, and I understand you have boats travelling there quite regularly, so that should be quite easy to organise. So hopefully, if the building was seen as an asset rather than a functional factory, then perhaps we would have far more engagement and ability to demonstrate what we're doing to a wider audience. I'll skip through here now. I believe I was to cover the benefits and feasibility of upscaling and recycling waste as a solution. I think the importance of upscaling, I think this could be a fairly mute question based on the data we all have available. However, the best practices and examples of upcycling, now that is an interesting proposition, because right now it is a mixed bag. There are very few people, for example, this is a low-grade product you're looking at here, a wood profile. This is a mixed bag of very low quality plastics that have actually been carefully segregated in a quantity of about 30% plastic bags, and the rest is flakes, recycled flakes of mixed media. This is put through a form under a hot induction, and we end up with products that you could see are really rethinking what is possible. I'm quite keen to make sure that as much of what we produce is used locally by the local community. A great deal of fossil fuel has been expended bringing these products to the islands, and I think the most circular movement of those materials is to redistribute them in a new form within the community. My last comment is, I've just got a flash on my screen. PET grade flakes this morning. I've got a broker. He's very kindly sending me live updates. It's quite a mad market. But this morning, B grade flakes reached $1,300 USD a metric ton. Now that's pretty rough plastic. Not hot washed and not very well segregated. These are terraform you're looking at on screen now. So this is a compression block. This is not an extrusion. So where we have a steel form, and these billets of wood, it's a very low grade plastic material, but it's compressed under hydraulic pressure, allowed to cool in a water bath, and then the piece itself is ejected. And this is very good for building lintels. We've had very good experiments coming through this last month, spanning 2 meters with a really good load bearing capacity. My recommendations for moving forward, I think, like all of us, the greatest threat to our planet is that we think somebody else is going to take care of it for us. I feel compelled attempting to face this global issue on a personal scale by providing boots on the ground working solutions. For example, this machine you're looking at now, this is a hugely modified it can be called a grinder, it can be called an auger, but the blade configuration, we've changed everything over so that it can withstand mobile salt and sand in the air for island methodology. And we've had absolutely great performance from these. What I propose is a low-cost entry platform to offer you a facility that can not only recycle effectively and without polluting the environment, but actually offer you a revenue stream from materials you find readily at your disposal. And there we are. This is the Mark 7. We call her Betsy. So this shredder has seen some, it's version 7 of what we started with. And it's quite a beast. We've got this at an elevated position and had it running for 7 hours solid with just a compression baler on top. And it was just astronomical what this machine can push through. Very easy to clean, very safe, and everything that connects one metal part to another has an iodined paint, or what we'd call today, or in the old days, a lead-based paint. And that's it. There we are, gentlemen. Some of the products we can make. So these were made at 𝗂𝗏. So this is just compressed plastic milk bottles. And here we are. There's a document here in the drive I've just shared with you. You can find links to everything within there, including a lot of information on how Maker's Place came about and the particular machines that we've designed and fabricated. Another little joke of Coca-Cola here. I think, without boring you all, I think that covers the basics. As I say, I have a full schematic for the whole design of the facility ready to hand over, but I do need an NDA, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you, James. Your video, maybe it is a little bit paused or stuck. Is it?
I didn't stop talking, so I hope that was okay.
Yeah, we could hear you. Yes, we haven't signed actually. It is our process. I wanted to keep a process where we could first discuss in the committee with all the stakeholders and interested parties who is interested in waste management approaches that Noonu Atoll Council is having, and all the islands participation, as well as with the Sonyanamuna also we had an MOU. So after these discussions, I wanted to and we wanted
Not a
to
problem.
proceed.
It's just
and
we have other stakeholders involved, so it's just best that you know, the paperwork is in place. So we have to understand, I'm not here for profit. I'm not an employee. 90% of my work is community based, so I'm just merely trying to facilitate what your aspirations are. So not a problem at all.
Yes, we will. Yes, Majid. We are open for comments, and if anyone.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm Majid. I will be the chair of usually it's a service committee of Noonu Atoll committee in the committee. So, thank you, James, for the very good and informative presentation regarding this management. We Noonu Atoll, we have been working closely with Sonyanamuna as discussed earlier. And overall, for all the islands, all 12 islands, we are practicing good segregation and basic recycling techniques. We are already practicing. So I think for when moving forward, with the information you have presented, we can discuss further as the President has mentioned in our committee meetings. I will take this to committee and we will discuss about our specific details, like for our plans for recycling plants, where to locate and how we will proceed with those things. And in future and after the discussions, I think we can again meet all together and hold decide on how to proceed with our work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. We are open for other comments if they want to clarify anything, or I will also bring about a little bit translation. There are several staffs and some council members. By Befulna Ituru Maudumataka by Divehim by Dakadana. Now James ki committee for the committee form Kofomoti Atoll Council gave us Hasako Atoll Council mandate to go on a comment no utilities. Mandate to go Ganuga mandate to go Rush Council to go Paraboda Dowering on the comment utilities, municipal hidmate, current to Fain, Nardama, Mikuni, Mihuriha kame. Ehenamas Algonmen and Noonu Atoll Waraboda, Menasigabu Kuroni, Rush Fembaruga, Kureve Kankama, Adi Jumla Kong, Atoll Fembaruga by Kankan Kuran, Olefia, Niga Rajashaka, Nepalen, Libeka. They are Menaskabu Kurve, Atoll level planning processing on Najeka. Adi plan Rajashuga Hingamunda Kankam, Atoll Fembaruga, facilitate ko. Konrashika Konkamekan Kurambi, Konrashika Konkamekan Kurambi, Rajashuga Kuramunda, Rangal practice the Kobakan, Ghost practice the Kobakan, Konrashaka Kamia, Konkamek Libeni, Konrashika Libeni, Mika discussion single as a committee, Ben, Atoll Council and Wakikame Kurman. And then Atoll Council gas me, Tihama Rajashum Mibna mandate DIFA development plan scale Etanang Ekogen. Nooni waste management. Korwe kala kankang ebo hurikama. Eden emernes kabo karena. Upcycle korum. Sa plastic was commercial recycle no. Korwe ka mahena was atoleg go ufede. Mingun diriuda rasha resort faro go ufede huriha plastic ebejia. Eti. Thanaka transfer station ka no recycle center ka ufulunto rangali. Nooni ufula vikalunto rangali nooni atol terega recycle kurunto rangali. Neat. Algonmen gana Atoll Fember kunne suale commercial the mekan kurang uduma de tere algonmen suale ne algonmen suale anna eyangoti jawab lifa ekkofa me recycle koratantana bikkum eggote ki anegote ki upcycle kor eme egota nimma fa plane tayar kore fa ebase fa me pass kore honna then waste management asha solar energy asakon utility related kamakan algonmen board mandate nagam yole sabaki එහෙන්කම්කමකේ සම කොන්සර්න්ස් උරි කන්තම් ෆුබෝෆෙනා මේ නර්දමාය මේ හොයාකම්කමකේ සෙහෙන්නවස් එම්මෙ බොඩු ගෙපෙෆෙන්න එම්මෙ බොඩු පොටෙන්ෂල් දෙන් අදවල් මෙන්න ප්‍රංගල හල්ලු කුර විදාන අද එම්මෙ බොඩු කම්බොඩු මෙන් හුරි දෙකමකි මෙයොගතු මිදකන්තකම බාතිවෙ මිදකන්ත නෝනතොළු ලෙවල්ග අතොළු ප්ලෑන් එක ඒගේ මානෙන්නුන් ඒ යුටිලිටීස් රිලේටඩ් එහෙන් කමෙක් රාශික කම්බොඩු මෙන් ඔතියා අතොළු ෆෙම්බරග මශ්වරාක යන් හල්ලක අතොළු ෆෙම්බරග නූලවේන එක හැම උලවේන කංකන්දෙන් හොරිස් අම මෙන්ඩේට් එකම එගොත ප්ලේන් එක කණ්ඩාලා නැත සනිකස් ප්ලේනින් ප්‍රොසෙස් සම දායමෙක කොමිටිග බේනුමකි මේ ප්‍රොසෙස් අබද සිංගු දැන් අවගොන්මෙන් කොමිටි ඒජෙන්ඩා ආමුකම් කුරම් මෙහාල් මත උසූල කණ්ඩාලා කොමිටිය කොම්මකමෙන් ඒජෙන්ඩා කුරම් වෙස් මේ ඉලෙක්ටඩ් කොම්ම ඔෆිෂල් එකක් වෙස් ખાસ ෆෝම් එක ෂේඩ් එක අතොල් කවන්සිල් වෙස් කොමිටීස් තකවස් අද ඉලෙක්ට් නූනස් කොමිටි එක රජිස්ට්‍රි ෆෝ තිබි ආමුරයිතුන්න වෙස් ෆෝම් ෂේඩ් දාන අධිරාජ්‍යම් බේරම හකස් ෆෝම් ෂේඩ් දාන අලුමෙන්නක් කොලාබරේට් කෝ මසේ කුරම් බේනු වකුම් ෆුඤ්ඤකස් ෆෝම් ෂේඩ් දාන අද එක්ක මසේ කර ජමියාකස් ෆෝම් ෂේඩ් දාන එම් කොමිටි හිඟමුන් දාගත කියයි දැන් මේ අදවලුන එජෙන්ඩා මේ කුරි එක්කමකි මේ ජේම්ස් සොෂාලා ෆෝ ප්‍රොපෝසල් දෙන් එයි විරුවායලුම් මේ දගඬු ඇල්මුනියම් ප්ලාස්ටික් විරුවාගෙන් අතොළු ෆෙම්බර්ග අප්ස්කේල් කො එච්චි එක්කොක්ගෙන් මේ රිසයිකල් කොක්ගෙන් මේ ඉක්සෝදි මසෙක්කතේ බිනා කුර විදානක ජේම්ස් එකි සොනවාගේ රිසෝර්ට් තොග්ගා මේ මසෙක්කත්තුගා කොන්සල්ටන්සි දීපා එතන්ත රිසයිකල් ස්ටේෂන් තන් උෆද්දා හදා තන්ත හිංගුමුග තජ්රිබාවර දෙකම් කොරමුන්දා ෆරාත් සොනවා නමුනායක ඔළුම්මෙන් මිකම් මුගා මේ කොන්සල්ටන්සි නගමුන් දියස් ජේම්ස් වකින් ඔළුම්මෙන් හුෂාලා ෆේ ප්‍රොපෝසල් දෙම් මේ වෙබ්ෆ්ලා මිකමුගා මේ කොන්සල්ටන්සි දීෆා මිකමුගා හිතර වේද දීෆානකම සපෝට් දීෆානකම මිකම් අකුර දැන් හුෂායඩේක ඔළුම්මෙන් ප්ලෑන් උගස් මේ ඔති මිදන්නවා හෙන් අප්සයිකල් කුරුමා ರಿಸೈಕಲ್ ಕುರುಮ ಕೊಮ್ಮಸ್ ಖಾತ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಆತೊಳ್ತೆರೆ ಗಾಯಂ ರಂಜೆ ಏಕ ಏಕಿ ಅವಳು ಮಿಹಾರ್ ಹುರಿ ಕೊನ್ಸ ಮಿಹಾರ್ ಹುರಿ ಕಂಬಡು ಅಂತ ಕುಗ ಬಲಾಯರುಗ ಮಿಹಾಹ ವಹ ಫಶಾಗಣ್ಣ ಕೊಮ್ಮೆ ಮುಹಿಮ್ ಕಮಕ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾನ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾನ ಏ ಅವಳು ನಾ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಕುರೆದಾನೆ ಕ ಮಿಹಾರಸ್ ಪ್ಲಾನಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸ್ ಮಿಕಮ ನಗಾಣ ವಗುತ್ತಾ ಬಲ್ಲ ಹಮೆ ಮಿಮಸೆಕ್ಕೆ ಫಶಾಗಣ್ಣ ಹುಷಾಳಿ ಫೆ ಪ್ರಪೋಸಲ್ ಲಾ ಗುಳಿಗ ಮಿಮಸೆಕ್ಕೆ ಫಶಾಗಣ್ಣ ಲಸ್ ವಗುತ್ತೆ ನೋಕ ಫೆನ್ನಾತಿ ಕಮಿಟಿಗೆ ಮೇದ ಅವಳು ಮೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಏಜೆಂಡಾ ಕೊಲೆಮ මේ විරවායලුමා දගඩු වෙස් ඇල්මනියම් වෙස් ප්ලාස්ටික් වස් විරවායලුමා එච්චි ෆෙද්දුමා ගුලේගොතු මිෂලුම් ප්‍රෙසෙන්ටේෂන් එ මිෂලුනි තෙන් ඒගේ ඉතුරක් මේ ખાસක රාජ්‍ය කස්ටමයිස් කරේ ෆොයි අගුහෙව මැෂිනරීස් ජේම්ස් දක්කාලි මේක මිහාතන මේ සොනවාග මෙන් කොෆරි මසකතුක බේන කොෆරි එහෙනම් කොමිටි මෙම්බරුන් තෙරේක මියා දෙතරේ එක ඛියාල් පාල් කරන්දෙන් මජීදු කොමිටි චෙයා බෙනුම් විහෙන් අධ්‍යාලගොන් මෙන් දෙන් ජෙහෙනි කොන්රශික්ගාතෝ අප්සයික්ලින් ඉකංකම මේ තන්තන් හදානි ඒකංකන් එම්ම දැන් බයික් ෆන්ඩ්ස් මෙහාස් නෝනතොලග අප්සයික්ලින් ෆැසිලිටිස් බෙනෝව සාමාන උදංගෙලම බෙනෝව සාම අවුන්න අවේලබල් කයිබුරේ මිතා ෆලොශික්ගුරි ෆැසිලිටිස් අලගොන් මෙහාරස් එහෙන් තනක බදල් කරන් ජෙයිෆා ඔති තන් හුස්කුරු මට්ටක එම ඒ ෆුර්සතේ දැන් ඒක ඉතර බයි ෆෑසා අදි හොදන් ජෙහෙනවා කියන්නේ එහෙම මේ කොන්රශික්ගා හොමගතස් බාදාරු මච්චා කන්නේ වලට හීවන මීති මේ කහලෙච්චේ පොඩක් මේ දාංජේනි උෆුලුම ගහරදා එඩ්‍රෂන් ඇස්චි කෙන්දිම ගහරදා මිකහකම් බලා කීනෙතෝ රාශික කණ්ඩාලා අනියා ලොකේෂන් නිම්මානියා එරස් කවුන්සිල් කුම් මිකමුග බෑරි වාණ ගොතක පියෆාරිය මීති මේ දෙමෙට්ටේ ගොතක කුරානික ඒ අරුණ අදි බයික් හැලීකින් ඔෆද්දා මසේ කුරන්ජේ කනස් මිහර් ප්ලෑනින් ප්‍රොසෙස් ග අරුණ මෙන් ජේන්සා එක එන්ගේජ් වුම තිබේෆුන්නා දෙතරේ තිබේෆුන් එකමා දෙතරේ මිකම් ෆෂාගතමා දෙතරේ දෙකනි කොංගතකත්ව සොළුම් පිදුවාදන්නේ වරබර ශුක්‍රියා අන්ෆුස් තෝඩවාලා මජිද් ඉස්නායයි
शुक्रिया राइस best member of हमें पास कोलम बेरो हम हैंड रेस को
Keshan, Gordon, we are open for comments. Is this the time that we are to start the process? What are we required to consider before choosing a location? How many locations? What is this to be separate makers place for separate waste streams, or such comments could be discussed further in the meeting now, and how we proceed also. So about choosing a location also, you could give some ideas and feedbacks. Thank you.
That's for Gordon or me? Sorry.
That's for Gordon and myself. I think
apologies.
Gordon's internet, unfortunately, has just cut off. He seems to be frozen.
Okay.
I would want Gordon to speak first on this. I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. But before Gordon gives his 2 cents, may I ask 2 questions just to clarify about this proposal? So Alexander, when you're talking about shredding the plastics and then selling it in the open market, can you explain how this plastic would be transported? In what form?
Well, it will be flake, and usually coming in large, what in the industry is a bale, which actually contains, it's 1.90 meters, usually about square, weighs 1 ton. But these can be packaged any way you feel. It's just what's usually accepted in best form at the market, where they'll actually be sold. So we could choose to distribute to Colombia, for example, Colombo, sorry, in Sri Lanka. And if we have the transportation routes open, that's the path. It would depend on market values and who we're talking to as to which transportation, but generally it would be bagged and baled. The bags are reusable backwards and forwards.
And just to clarify, when we're baling it, because we bale with the with the Noonu Sustainable Waste Management model, we bale everything the same that it is done in, like you have seen at 𝗀𝗃. However, once you have plastic that's shredded, how can we ensure that these bales don't like release the shredded plastic on the way, like it doesn't get dropped? Is it in some way also
yeah,
it's
an industry standard baling bag. So it's just a very simple process. There's a stitch weave at the top. The bag is opened. You insert the flakes. Flakes are within 4 to 6 millimeter. Nothing will leave the bag. They're designed for this job.
So it's baled inside the bag.
Yes.
I got it now. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
It's not compressed in any way. It's okay. Left to its own devices to fall in naturally. About a cubic meter is about 200. Cubic meter is about 120 kilograms, plus or minus, depending on the material, of course.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Sorry, we use bale in a different. I think we use bale.
No. Stage 1 of this facility is bringing product to the international commodities trading market. So we will be complying with their requirements so that what we deliver can instantly enter the market and be sold onwards.
Thank you for that, Alexander. And my second question was, you explained, and now you just reiterated stage 1 about first it would be the building with the cleaning facilities and the VOC filters, and putting these this into the international market. And what is stage 2? Is that the artistic side of it, or? So
stage 2 is turn the facility fully circular. These materials are already in the Maldives. We've proven how easy aluminium is as a material. There are 1,000 products. You only have to walk into a hardware store in Mali, pick 20 products, and I can replicate them for you. So you could literally open a production line that would be very, very flexible. Aluminium, there's no costs really involved, maybe some 3D modeling if it was engineering grade. But on the plastic side, stage 2 would be, I have suggested to Mohammed to consume vast amounts of waste. So the plastic wood, the artificial steel lintels, these consume huge amounts of plastic, relatively low energy needed for that process to take place. The machinery itself, very cheap. We've got good qualified laborers with a good welding gun and some steel plate. You'll be surprised what you can make by way of new forms. And this means that the products are staying within the community, and we're enabling them. So, for example, I think every Maldivian I've ever met in my life has aspirations to modify, change, or make their home a better place. And all of these products have to travel vast distances over the ocean. And I think if we can offer some of those building grade products to the community. This is the foundation of my proposal. As I say, I'm not a waste manager. I have no interest. I am your boots on the ground solution guy. So far, I've trained 400 artists on how to recycle these materials. So I've got a small army out there, and it's growing all the time. I have to be honest, you know, Maker's Place made me very nervous. I've never done a corporate collaboration before, and I was very nervous because some of the processes that I'd designed for you really hadn't been tested in the field before. So I had nerves of steel, and I had faith in what we were doing, but we have proof of concept now. And so really the idea, I have a quick question for you, Gordon, because I've been itching to ask you all week. Have you got 7 kilowatt of solar panels lying around?
Not personally, no. Yeah, next time you're at EcoCentro, you could have a dig around and see what you can find. That's 𝗂𝗶𝘀𝗶𝘁.
The facility needs no batteries. So the idea of actually having a daytime operational solar facility, you know, and coming back to Cash's original question, what does stage 2 involve? I mean, the whole idea of making it a very circular thing is at its root. So stage 1 for me is just, you know, break ground, get you kids to clear the backlog, generate some revenue stream, and so that revenue stream hopefully can be reinvested into the production line so that we can train a couple of staff and really take this to the next level.
Thank you. So, Gordon, when your internet broke off, that was when Bashir was handing it over to us to ask any questions. I've asked 2.
Okay.
And one was about phase 2,
Great.
and the other one was to understand a little bit more clearly how the plastic flakes are being transported. So Alexander explained that they're in bags, bales bags.
Yeah, I did hear that bit.
Inside the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
But Bashir was saying, what other questions or what other things should we be considering now, like when it comes to waste streams or locations and so on?
Yeah.
So I don't know too.
Yes. So yeah, thank you, Alexander. Really good to see your presentation and the ideas here. And I've been, you know, I'm a big fan of the Maker's Place at 𝗂𝗶𝘀𝗶𝘁. It's wonderful to see that taking shape and producing amazing products. Maybe it'd be helpful just to frame this recycling work in the context of the atoll-wide strategy that we developed with Bashir and the Noonu Atoll Council. You've been talking about stage 1, stage 2. Well, in the plan strategy that was developed, we quite clearly delineated a phase 1 and a phase 2. When we're looking at how to bring waste into a situation where it's actually being managed rather than piled up and burned, which is obviously the main system that's in place at the moment in some islands, or what's available to people. So phase 1 is a systematic approach to getting waste under control for each individual island within the atoll. And we've been working through what we call the Namuna Sustainable Waste Management Model, which is there's a 5-step guide, and there's a lot of other information that goes along with that to help islands make logical decisions about how to manage the waste that they have. And of course, it involves work at the household level. Each individual should be involved. It involves a lot of leadership from each island council. It involves investment because, as you're well aware, transport issues are enormous. It's very expensive to move anything between islands, and so it's a excuse me. Sorry about that. It's a priority to minimize
Gordon, you may switch off the video.
Waste before it is shipped from
Gordon,
and we need equipment
How do we? How you're back?
Okay.
That's fantastic. It was going one way, then the other. Poor guy. It'll come back. It'll come back.
Nolan,
Let's
it
be
was
patient.
me who paused you, muted you actually. We couldn't hear you. You may switch off the video and come back maybe.
Is it me for video off? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure.
No, Gordon,
no.
Gordon.
Ah,
No,
okay.
no, for Gordon.
But yeah, of course, I didn't.
Yeah.
You carry on. Sorry.
Gordon මෙවුත් නැති මෙහෙම බේෆරුන්ගේ බුත් සුවාල් ඕනේ. තන්තන් කණ්ඩේලු මා කොංකන් කමෙත්තෝ upcycling recycling ගමියෝත් priority එකි. Then me as Gordon have highlighted that we have 2 phases already in the plan where getting current situation and on a track and later on starting recycling or upcycling. Transportation is also a challenge. It will be later on also, but also we are looking forward to the collaboration space that we are trying to open up with the resorts, where it will provide a potential for a transportation vessel or such an intervention within the atoll. So after some campaigns, we are very much sure that this will happen soon, and we will get at least a written acknowledge from the ministry at least of regulations were meant to happen within 6 months. Now it is three months yet after the act, so we have still 3 more months to go before getting these regulations realized. So before that, I'm also hoping that we government will acknowledge the entire inter-island and resort waste transfer campaign or approval that we were looking for. So once the letter is acquired by Noonu Atoll Council, we will again sit with council members on planning the transportation. So I am very hopeful about the transportation issues that we could come forward to a solution soon. So that's my plan on that. I haven't yet discussed any transportation initiative, but it is on the plan. But we are in the stage where we are about to start planning for the transportation. Actually, we could bring a temporary solution where we could rent a hire boat, and we have an approach for transportation where we own or provide our own council transportation vessel for carrying goods across the resorts and islands.
This would seem prudent, yes.
That's our plan for the future. So, but after the acknowledgement from ministry about this, as Gordon came back later, I'm saying that we will actually start planning for the transportation vessel once this inter-island transport waste transfer letter is acquired by the ministry. Actually, we were actually looking forward to that, and we were a little bit paused because of that also. That's what I wanted. You may continue without video if the internet is so bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome
Thanks, Pada. I'm not sorry about that. Yeah, it's a bit up and down, but hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I cut out, but essentially, one of the points I was making was that our phase 1 is about islands preparing waste for recycling as much as possible, to a higher quality as possible, and getting waste under control, so that in phase 2 at the atoll level, the kind of workshops that you're describing could be developed. And of course, we'd want to see material from all 13 islands contributing to something like this to make it cost effective and viable. So, and I don't know if you caught me on the point I made, but I was saying that when as Cash rightly points out, we generate rich islands from flaking their plastics because generally there's no guarantee of quality. It's very difficult to make sure it's pure. However, I do like the idea of centralizing that with a high quality, well-designed process that takes care of the water and the VOCs and all of that, and provides flakes that are at a guaranteed quality of segregation, so that maintain the recyclability of that. So I really think that's a great concept that could really work. One question would be, could you disassemble bales of plastic and put those through the system of washing and flaking?
It's a really good question. So I have no line analytics at the moment. I don't know what condition, what stage. I'm hoping the facility would start. It would be far cheaper for us to have a facility that only dealt with quality goods. So these are uncrushed cans, crushed plastic bottles arriving at the facility in a reasonable state of pre-washing. I can guarantee you a very, very high quality final product from there. If we're dealing with a backlog, or what you're doing is fantastic, and I apologize if my stage 1, stage 2 sounded to overlap, completely disassociated, but of course in final result would work hand in hand. Without that community enablement, really grassroots on the ground kids excited to see and know how their aluminium or their drinks bottle is processed and can even visit the space. I think if you've enabled that end of things in your stage 1 of Noonu, then I really, my hat's off to you, sir. Thank you to you both, because that's a really important element. Coming backwards to what we can accept, if you have mixed plastics, some that have been baled for a year, this is an entirely different production line. What I'm suggesting initially is a production line that can handle the largest volume polluters you have. So that's tin cans, water, PET bottles, and their HDPE caps. But if we were to accept a much broader spread and highly soiled materials, that is a very different production line, perfectly reasonable to include, and that will take the form of these compressed wood elements. Because once materials if something's been lying on the beach for 6 months, doesn't matter how good you're going to clean it, it's still been lying on the beach for 6 months. It will have sun erosion, all sorts of other problems. So there are 2 lines I'd hope that we would consider then. So are we clearing the backlog of deeply compressed and heavily soiled materials? So we have although it's upcycling in one form, it's not to the same grade or use of the original material. Aluminium doesn't matter. I can take anything within these facilities, and we can turn it to virgin billet aluminium at $2,000 a ton.
No, I don't think, to answer your question, that we're talking, I don't think that it's really about the backlog. I think it's about the steady state.
Good.
What's being produced today. Because the backlog can be taken care of in other ways, and it has been. But I'd make a distinction between compressed blocks that are, contain very historic, beach collected material or whatever, and the bales of compressed bales that the Noonu Islands, for example, produce just as a matter of course day to day, which is simply to reduce the volume by about 10 times for each material and make the transportation cost 10 times less. So you just have to look at I suppose you'd have to look at what kind of compressed plastics would be acceptable for the cleaning line that you propose, and what wouldn't be, and each then it'd be a case of training the islands to, for example, would it be necessary to remove the plastic caps and the small plastic film around a water bottle before baling it? I mean, for example, that could be done. I mean, everything's a manual process, and if it was worth someone's while in an island to do that, then that could be done if it would help.
The better the better the materials, the better the end product. If we are, as I say, the original designs I've been talking about was a two-stage setup. So initially just preparing the billet material and then upcycling to other products. Both of those will be enormously aided down the track with the quality of the product and the quality of returns price by pre-segregation as far as possible. Although cap and label removal can be easily handled within the facility. The wash, as I say, I haven't been given enough analytical data of what the facility would be provided. In my view, if you are renting your own vessel and dealing with it internally, the weight or the volume isn't an issue. Don't crush it. It's far easier to wash, it's far easier to work, it's less aggregates on all of the machinery involved if the original form is kept. But that is not fixed. You know, I'm quite happy to accept, you know, profoundly compressed materials. It just makes the machine loading about 60% higher. And generally, the product I've seen from my own experience, you can tell the difference between crushed and repurposed augured plastic as opposed to natural bottles passed through the same process. And I personally don't have experience if the auctioneers or the traders that actually buy and sell this material would open one of those bales and actually give you a lower value based on that. Because it's not reliquefied, this plastic. So we're just literally mechanically separating it into smaller workable elements. The more we can, it's an absolute mantra of mine to please have the community fully segregate their waste, clean it, really to take a bit of fun in it. And that's why, you know, one of the first things we could do is actually enable the production line to produce something that we give to every single resident who's involved in the project on every one of these community islands, so they understand they've got clips or something for hanging up their vestibules for their rubbish, so that actually it has a little message. You know, as I say, without their engagement, all of this is in vain.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Nothing is impossible. I think I don't know the extent to which, for example, the existing Atoll ferry network could be used to transport these very lightweight bales. Because jumbo bags. A jumbo bag of or petals would weigh probably around. So that's not a heavy thing to place on, for example, the roof of an Atoll ferry.
Yes.
And so if there was a regular transport of those specific materials, that the island was getting some kind of benefit for providing them, you know, I think that the Bashir and the Noonu Atoll Council, working with all of the islands and the infrastructure that exists, could look at a way to achieve what you're proposing, especially if it's a service that's available every day and perhaps already being paid for, because it's taking people and goods between local islands. That's an interesting thought. I mean, we've always gone the way of volume reduction because our waste is mainly being transported minimum to 𝗙𝗪, and obviously from there 70% or more is going to recycling partners in other countries. So we can't afford to be transporting uncompacted waste.
Absolutely.
Any distance.
We're in a different. If this facility opens, the framework would be different. So I hope we could, with your help, get their support. So really important.
Yeah, that could happen more quickly as well, because obviously it doesn't require a compactor in this case, and that's actually one of the limiting factors for many of the islands. They've got no shortage of segregated materials. As Majid mentioned, you know, a lot of the islands are doing the segregation already, but overwhelming when it doesn't get frequent, and there's no means to reduce the volume with a compactor. So there's obviously a lot of variables, but it's an interesting idea.
What's the furthest island from each other within this the scope of this project? How far? What's the longest distance you estimate that any shipment of waste to any proposed site would be?
That is very
I'm sorry, say again. What's the greatest distance between the islands within this project of Noonu Atoll? How far would the longest boat journey be for any waste relocation?
That would be a distance we could measure from Wellidu to Manadu, Wellidu Island to Manadu. Might be the one of the.
Actually, the atoll is divided. Atoll is divided into two. So in the middle we have from the middle points Manadu is the capital. So from Manadu also when we are checking the distance, the farthest point will be Wellidu. So around from Manadu to Wellidu by speed launch also they take around 35 or 30 minutes.
Okay. Just to get a scale. Okay. I'm sorry, I've got it in my head. It's just very useful to know how many of these nodal functions we'll need to actually make the facility operational.
Hamid might know the distance between the Wellidu and Manadu.
I'll do my research, but just an interesting question. But thank you, Gordon. I think it's great if we could have these unsquashed materials bagged in a parley bag, for example, and strapped to the boot or the roof of vessels. We have our solution turnkey.
Thank you, Alex, and other participants as well. We have, if we don't have any other comments with regard to the item that we have discussed, I would like to introduce World Bank Waste Management Coordinator assigned through Ministry of Environment, Mr. 𝗂𝗍𝗃, to Noonu Atoll, introduce all of you to 𝗂𝗍𝗃, and I would like Mr. 𝗂𝗍𝗃 to get himself introduced to the council members and the committee members and briefly discuss what their awareness plans for waste segregation and such is planned and how he wanted to proceed with the awareness campaigns. Actually, 𝗂𝗍𝗃 will be taking initiative, but as we have an agreement and some plans with other stakeholders, we have a plan which is also very much aligned with the 𝗺𝗃 campaign by 𝗂𝗍𝗃 and other collaborators from the ministry. So there isn't much difference between the ideas and the awareness campaigns that we have designed and the campaigns that ministry was going to conduct in the atoll. So I think we are on the same page on awareness. So I will give space to Mr. 𝗂𝗍𝗃 to get introduced himself and collaboration and assistance that he would like us to provide him. And at Noonu Atoll Council will administer and facilitate the logistics and communication for 𝗂𝗍𝗃 as well. Thank you. And I will wrap up after 𝗂𝗍𝗃's presentation and other questions. Thank you. 𝗂𝗍𝗃.
Thank you, Bashir.
You may continue in the way, 𝗂𝗍𝗃. And
Okay.
video just
Video just me ogut video just say hate ganu me gadi min.
okay. Korea again.
Assalamu alaikum. Algon ki Hasan 𝗂𝗍𝗃 algon masek kuro mihar midani ministry nga World Bank guligen genda project එක algon ki community engagement coordinator aslu haigata bunanmu and algon kuranje masekade 𝗺𝗃 campaign ge mi 𝗺𝗃 ministry hawal ko finna 𝗺𝗃 program algon menge thera rasha Noonu Atoll ge thera rasha for kode no yani ministry e 𝗺𝗃 iftita ko gina befuna inge wada ganna kana 𝗺𝗃 එමෙ මේ එච්චන් අල්ගොන මසෙක්ක කුර මිදනි මිහාර awareness program තක අදි මේ වේස්ටුගේ දායරයන්න දී ගන්තත්තකුන් රටු ෆෙම් වරුග කුර විධාන කන්තත්තක මිසාල කල්ගොන් මගේ ಟಾರ್ಗೆಟಕಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ದಾಯಿರಾಕ ಗೂಳಿಗೆನ್ ಗೆಂದ್ಯು ವರ್ಬಡ ಆದಿಸ್ಕಮ್ ಮಿದೆನಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ ಐ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಬಿನಾ ಕುರ್ಮಟ್ಟಕ ವರ್ಬಡ ಮುಹಿಮಕಮ ಬೇಣವೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಇದಾವ್ರು ದಾಳಗಡ ಮಿಹಾರ ಮಿದನಿ ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ತಕೆ ಕುರಮು ಅತಳ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಆವಿಸದಿ ರಡು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ತಕ ವಾಹದೆ ಫರತ ಮಳಗಂಡ ಅತಳ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ವಾಹಕ ದೆಕೆವಿಗೆನ್ ಅಳಗಡ ಇತರು ಕಂತತಕ ಕೂರಿಯದ್ದೇವೆನ್ ಅನ್ನನಿ ඒක පහුගතයෙන් අලුගඩු කුරිය ගෙන්දාන මිනිස්ට්‍රීන් අලුගඩ හවල් පුරා මස්සෙක් ඇත්ත දැන් අදගේ තුරුන් අලුගඩ මිනිස්ට්‍රීන් අවාහදක අලුගඩු හල්පු වේන ගොතක අලුගඩ හෙල්පු වේන එයි බසිර් අලුගඩනේ කුඩකෝ
Yeah, okay. Here we have Saudi, as I have introduced. Cash, we already have been holding back a workshop to be conducted with Mr. Saudi. Actually, we also wanted to conduct Noonu Atoll waste management awareness programs with the community engagement coordinator. So we have been waiting for like 4 months for the process of hiring waste coordinator. Actually, it is our approach and our idea that atolls need an awareness component, and it is our proposal to World Bank as well. So it happened with our idea as well. So I won't take credit for that also. And we are actually on a stage. We are ready, but we and Cash and Soneva Namuna already discussed to having what can we say, an induction workshop before initiating. So that could be something that we could discuss at the time. Are we going to do it or not, or do we need it, or what's your idea on that? And I'm sure we could plan such a workshop if it is necessary before, so they deploy to the other islands. Thank you.
So I think the question would be, what would be the objective of that workshop? And would it be for all the island council presidents, or would it be for other members of the council? And then with aligning with Sadiq being there to ensure everybody understands the atoll level plan and following the Namuna sustainable waste management model, phase 1, phase 2, and so on. And then coordinating on the islands the types of engagements that will happen, and for Sadiq to present to everybody what his objectives are in his new role. I think that would be very valuable. I think it could be a full day workshop for everybody to kind of share ideas and brainstorm things together.
Yeah, actually, Saudi and Ministry have told that they also wanted to have a physical workshop in before initiating. So, but before that, I wanted to bring it to this table and later on go for that physical workshop if it is necessary. And of course, doesn't necessarily have to be island presidents, what they are focused islands, but also for the campaign they are focused islands by the ministry. But in our campaign, it is all the islands that we wanted to include, but specifically those islands where segregation is not that well organized or not started. That's our focus. So we will take the opportunity and incorporate our priorities within the if we could conduct such a workshop and discuss with the ministry and SODIC to reschedule and incorporate our other islands that we have to prioritize on such things. So that could be discussed. And the participants need not be island presidents. This committee, we have some other council members who is mostly focused on waste management, and some of the island council staffs are there in this meeting. So it might be the same group of people who is doing the waste management related works in the council that the physical meeting could be. So if we are to conduct, we could discuss the date or such a thing and later continue on that. Thank you.
Sadiq, do you already have an outline of the in-person workshop that you wish to conduct with your selected islands?
So they might have.
Yes, Kesh.
Yeah, hey Sadiq, do you already have an outline of the workshop that you were planning to do with the selected island, the first kind of introductory workshop from your side?
Yeah, I mentioned at the but as well to give a. First, we need to initiate a meeting. We need to at all the islands. After that, we selected because we when the last month, 2 months ago, we research. Our team came to Noonu Atoll, and we selected how important. We selected the 5 islands because it's not just we selected. This is the survey. After that, we selected the 5 islands because which island is important of the waste or segregation, the important islands. So that's why we selected 5 islands, including the Namuna, without Namuna islands. So we get more information. I mean, we don't need to focus to Namuna Island. We have to move another island. So that's why we selected some other islands as well. So I think this is the best idea we can do easily to give the more awareness program or the necessary things we can provide.
Okay, I'm just wondering if this is, I'm just thinking whether we should take this offline and maybe Sadiq, we can talk about what you would have planned in your workshop. We can put together a proposal and then we can bring it to share it with Bashir, and this committee can decide to go ahead or not. But I don't think we need to discuss all the content and things in this conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So Sadiq, you and I, let's. I'll email you and let's schedule a time to call for a chat.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sadiq also, and James as well. And if other council members and the participants does have any comments on the waste awareness workshops and such, please do raise your hand or give your comments. That's our last item for the agenda. Yes, Gordon.
Hi, yeah. So just while Alexander's on the call, just wanted to ask about timescales. What do you imagine as the timescale for having a facility like this in place?
2 of the product line sources are on a 6 to 8 week lead with a 4 to 6 week delivery. Once everything's in place and those orders are placed, the facility could be built behind that delivery timeline. I think Mohammed and I were originally talking about late August. Ramadan has delayed things, of course, but I think by the end of this year would be as I say, there are still a few variables. I don't know if it's a prefabricated building. I don't know if we're making the facility from scratch. But in theory, the machinery and me are the only thing that stops the plant from being viable. So I think 4 months from a green light, we could be operational.
What's the funding model for the initial investment and then the operational, covering the operational costs?
Again, because I haven't done a line analysis of the material, the waste materials I've got, I don't have the full blade configuration for what is known to be arriving at the facility. But this is not an expensive startup. The solar element for 7 kilowatts on the main supply line won't need battery hookup, so that's quite cheap. But all this comes in at under 35. Machinery-wise.
Okay, is anyone committed to? Right. Is anyone committed to paying for that? Yeah.
No, we're just at the temporary stages of discussing what we will actually do, what green attributes we believe are worth bolting on. And I think that the last thing that arrived at the conversation was the 7 kilowatt solar pack. So the facility could be unplugged from the island.
Okay.
And just to clarify, that 35,000 is that's $35,000 for the equipment, but not the building, right? It's.
I'm afraid with the greenback doing what it's doing at the moment, all numbers will be in euros.
In euros, yeah, but it doesn't include the building.
No,
right?
no.
Yeah.
So this is a modular lineup. So Maker's Place, I had some quite profound limitations placed on me, what I can do, what I can't do, and that's fine. I mean, but this is a facility where functionality and down the track stability is very important. So it's been designed on a 3-tier system. So every machine has a triple. So there are 3 VOC machines. Only 1 or 2 of them will ever be in use at the same time. One will just be a service backup. The same will apply to the furnaces and the wash station pumps. So that 35,000 euros gets you basically a full facility delivered. It just needs someone to go and set it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. If you don't have further comments, we will conclude this meeting. Before concluding, I would like to thank you, everyone who took part. Actually, it's an official meeting where we take attendance and records of the meeting. I will also send the discussed details to all the participants of the committee and the meeting. And further, what we have discussed, we will discuss furthermore on with 𝗂𝗏 Namuna as well as other committee members on how we choose a location, when do we how we plan the process, and when do we plan to establish such recycling facilities and such, and we will get back to Alex with those details. And also on the awareness campaigns, I will further discuss with availability of 𝗂𝗏 Namuna consultants and set up a date for such a physical workshop, and look forward to see for an awareness workshop with the relevant council members from various islands within this month or early next month. So with that, I would like to conclude the meeting, and thank you all for taking part. And every month I would like to continue the committee meetings, so please be attentive and do some research, and also wanted your suggestions and comments as well, sir. But today, as I have mentioned in the earlier, I didn't send you the agenda, but later on we will put forward the agenda and you can be ready for the meeting from next on. Thank you, Majid, also taking chair initiating and taking initiative to chair this committee. Thank you, Majid. I will end the meeting.
Let's conclude.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.